Her name was Claire. She was 26 years old, and she had a good life. A small apartment in the city, a job she liked, friends who made her laugh, and a boyfriend named Marcus. From the outside, everything looked perfect, and Claire wanted to believe that it was. Marcus was tall and confident. He always knew what to say at a party. He made people laugh easily, and he never seemed nervous about anything. Claire had been with him for 2 years, and in the beginning, she was very happy. He brought her flowers on her birthday. He texted her good morning every day. He told her she was beautiful. But somewhere along the way, something changed. Claire was not sure exactly when it happened. Maybe it was slow, like the way a room gets cold when someone leaves a window open. You do not notice it at first. Then suddenly you are shivering, and you do not know why. They stopped having long conversations. Their evenings together became quiet in a way that did not feel comfortable. Marcus would sit on the sofa and watch videos on his phone, and Claire would sit next to him, reading a book, and she would think, "Is this enough? Is this what love is supposed to feel like?" She never said anything. She told herself she was being too sensitive. She told herself that every relationship gets quieter after 2 years. She told herself to be grateful. And then she met Ryan. She had heard his name many times before. Marcus talked about him often. Ryan was his best friend from university. They had studied together, lived together for a year, and stayed close even after graduation. But Claire had never actually met him because Ryan lived in another city and only visited a few times a year. The first time she saw him was at a dinner party. It was a Saturday evening in October. Marcus had organized a small dinner at their apartment for a few friends, and Ryan had come to visit for the weekend. Claire was in the kitchen when she heard the front door open. She heard Marcus laugh loudly, the way he always laughed when he was truly happy. She wiped her hands on a cloth and walked into the hallway. Ryan was standing by the door, still holding his bag. He was not as tall as Marcus. He had dark hair that was a little too long, and he was wearing a blue jacket that looked old but comfortable. He was smiling at something Marcus had just said. Then he looked up and saw Claire. "You must be Claire," he said. "I've heard a lot about you." "Good things, I hope," she said. It was the kind of thing people always say, and she felt a little embarrassed saying it. But Ryan smiled, and it was a different kind of smile. Not the confident smile that Marcus wore like a mask. It was a quieter smile, like he was genuinely pleased to meet her. "Only good things," he said. That was all. A simple introduction. Claire went back to the kitchen and continued cooking. But something felt different. She could not explain it. She felt more awake, somehow. More present. She noticed the smell of the food, the sound of the music playing in the other room, the cool air coming through the kitchen window. She told herself it was nothing. Dinner was lively. There were 6 people around the table, and the conversation moved easily from one topic to another. Ryan talked about his work. He was a photographer, and he had recently been on a trip to Portugal. He showed some pictures on his phone, and everyone leaned in to look. The photos were beautiful. Not just technically, but emotionally. There was one photo of an old woman sitting outside a cafe, looking at the street. Her face told a whole story. "That's incredible," Claire said. Ryan looked at her. "Thank you. That one is my favorite too." After dinner, while Marcus and the others moved to the living room, Claire stayed to clear the table. Ryan stayed to help. They worked quietly for a moment, and then he said, "You cooked everything yourself?" "Most of it," she said. "It was really good. The pasta, especially. It's my grandmother's recipe." "Recipes from grandmothers are always the best," he said simply. Claire laughed. It was a small, unimportant comment, but it made her feel seen, like he was actually paying attention, like she was not just Marcus's girlfriend, standing in the background. They talked for a while longer in the kitchen, about cooking, about travel, about books. Ryan had read a lot. He asked her what she was reading, and when she told him, he knew the book. He had an opinion about it that was different from hers, and they disagreed in a friendly way, and it felt wonderful. When had she last had a real conversation like this? She could not remember. Later that night, after Ryan had gone back to his hotel and the other guests had left, Claire lay in bed next to Marcus. He fell asleep quickly, as he always did. Claire stared at the ceiling in the dark. She told herself to stop thinking about Ryan. She told herself that she had just met an interesting person. It happens sometimes. Not everything had a deeper meaning. She was in a relationship. She loved Marcus. Did she love Marcus? She closed her eyes and pushed the question away. Ryan stayed for the whole weekend. On Sunday afternoon, Marcus wanted to watch a football match, and he suggested that Claire and Ryan go for a walk while he watched. It was the kind of suggestion that Marcus made without thinking about it. To him, it was practical. He did not notice that Claire went very quiet for a moment before she said yes. They walked along the river. The October air was cold and clean, and the trees along the bank were orange and yellow. Ryan had his camera with him, and he stopped sometimes to take a photo. Claire watched him work. He was very focused, but not in a closed way. He always came back to her quickly, always continued the conversation. They talked about their childhoods. Ryan had grown up in a small town. He said it was quiet and a little boring, but he was grateful for it now. He said quiet places teach you how to pay attention. I grew up in the city, Claire said. I always wanted to escape. And now, I'm not sure what I want. She said it before she could stop herself. It was more honest than she had planned to be. She looked at the river, not at him. Ryan did not say anything for a moment. Then he said, I think that's a very honest answer. She glanced at him. He was looking at the water too. His expression was calm, but thoughtful. Most people don't admit that, he said. Most people pretend they know exactly what they want. Maybe they do know, Claire said. Maybe, he said. Or maybe they're scared to look too closely. She thought about that for a long time after he left. She thought about it during the week, at work, in the evenings. She thought about Ryan's photographs and the way he listened when she talked, and the strange feeling of being truly seen by someone. She also felt deeply uncomfortable. She was not a person who wanted to hurt anyone. She was not a person who broke rules or made chaos in other people's lives. She cared about Marcus. She did not want to destroy something that other people had. But she could not stop thinking. A month passed. Ryan came back to the city for a short visit. Marcus invited him to dinner again, this time at a restaurant. Claire spent too long getting ready that evening. She noticed that she did. She told herself she was being ridiculous. At the restaurant, Ryan sat across from her. He asked her about her work. She was a translator, and he was genuinely curious. He asked what it felt like to live inside two languages. She had never thought about it that way before, and she found herself describing something she had never put into words. How sometimes a feeling existed in one language, but had no exact word in another. How translation was really about finding the closest possible truth. Ryan listened without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "That sounds like a kind of loneliness." She stared at him. "Not a sad loneliness," he added quickly. "More like the loneliness of someone who sees things that others don't quite see." Marcus looked up from his menu. "Are you two talking about work again?" He laughed and went back to reading. But Claire could not laugh. Her heart was beating too fast. She looked down at the table. Something was happening that she could not control. After dinner, while Marcus paid the bill and talked to the waiter, Ryan and Claire waited near the door. The restaurant was warm and loud, and they were standing close together. "I'm glad we met properly," Ryan said quietly. "I mean, I've known Marcus for years, and he always talked about you. But meeting someone is different." "Different how?" she asked. He thought for a second. "You get to find out if the real person matches the description." "And do I?" she asked. She was surprised by her own boldness. Ryan looked at her directly. "You're better," he said. It was not a flirtation. His tone was honest, not playful. That made it worse. Or better. She was not sure anymore. She said nothing. Marcus came back, and they put on their coats and went out into the cold night, and Claire walked beside her boyfriend and tried to remember who she was. That night, she could not sleep. She lay awake for hours and finally admitted something to herself. She had feelings for Ryan. Real feelings. Not just curiosity or admiration. Something warmer and deeper that had been growing quietly for weeks. And she did not know what to do. She could do nothing. She could stay with Marcus, continue her life, push these feelings down until they disappeared. Many people did this. It was safe and it was kind, in a way. But was it honest? She thought about what Ryan had said, about people who were scared to look too closely. She thought about how she had been feeling with Marcus. Not unhappy, exactly. But not fully alive either. Was she staying with Marcus because she loved him? Or because she was afraid of emptiness? These were hard questions, and she was not sure she was ready for the answers. The weeks that followed were difficult. Ryan went back to his city. Claire and Marcus continued their quiet life. But something had shifted inside her. She looked at her relationship differently now. Not with cruelty, but with honesty. She noticed how rarely Marcus asked her real questions. She noticed how she often changed the subject when she started to say something true. She noticed that she laughed more in one evening with Ryan than she did in weeks with her own boyfriend. She talked to her best friend, Sophia. They met for coffee one gray November morning, and Claire told her everything. Sophia listened carefully. "Do you love Marcus?" Sophia asked. "I care about him," Claire said. "That's not what I asked." Claire looked at her coffee cup. "I don't know," she said. "I thought I did, but now I'm not sure if I loved him, or if I just loved not being alone." Sophia was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Those are very different things." "I know. And Ryan?" Claire shook her head slowly. "Nothing has happened. He has never said anything. He has never done anything wrong. It's possible he doesn't feel anything at all. But you do." "But I do," Claire repeated softly. It was the first time she had said it out loud to another person. It felt terrifying and also like a relief, like putting down something very heavy. Sophia looked at her gently. "I think you already know what you need to do," she said. "Not because of Ryan, but because of you." Claire knew she was right. If she was honest with herself, really honest, the way she was too scared to be for months, she knew that something between her and Marcus had ended a long time ago. She had been staying because leaving was frightening, because she did not want to be the one who caused pain, because she did not want to be alone. But staying was its own kind of dishonesty. For both of them. 2 weeks later, on a quiet Tuesday evening, she told Marcus. She was kind and she was clear. She told him that she cared about him very much, but that she did not think they were right for each other anymore. She told him that she had been feeling this way for a while, and that she was sorry she had not said it sooner. Marcus was upset. He was quiet at first, and then he asked her why, and she told him as honestly as she could. He did not understand completely. He asked if there was someone else. She said no, and it was true. Nothing had happened. There was nothing to confess. What she felt for Ryan was private and uncertain, and it had not caused her decision. It had only helped her see something that was already there. They sat together for a long time in the apartment that had once felt like home. Then Marcus stood up and went to the bedroom, and Claire sat alone on the sofa and looked at the walls. She expected to feel relief. She expected to feel sad. She felt both, and also something else, something she recognized slowly as clarity. She did not contact Ryan. That was important to her. This was not about him. It was about her. She needed to understand herself before she could understand anything else. She moved into a smaller apartment on the other side of the city. She spent the winter alone, reading and cooking and walking, and slowly she began to feel like herself again. More herself, actually, than she had in years. In February, she got a message from Ryan. He had heard from Marcus that they had separated. He wrote simply, "I hope you're okay. Marcus told me. I'm sorry if things are difficult." She read the message several times. Then she wrote back, "I'm okay. Better than expected, actually. Thank you for asking." He replied, "I'm glad. And I've been thinking about something. Would you want to get coffee sometime? Just to talk." No pressure at all. She sat with that message for a long time. She thought about the dinner in October, the walk along the river, the conversation about languages and loneliness, the feeling of being seen. She thought about Sophia, who had told her to be honest. She thought about Ryan's photographs and how they captured something true in ordinary moments. She thought about all the questions she had stopped asking herself and all the conversations she had stopped having. Then she thought about the future, not as something frightening and empty, but as something open, something she could actually choose. She typed back, "Yes, I'd like that." And for the first time in a very long time, she smiled at her phone without feeling guilty about it. Some stories do not have a simple ending. Claire and Ryan met for coffee. They talked for 3 hours and closed the cafe. They met again the following week. And then again. What happened next is a longer story. But it started there in the most ordinary way. Two people sitting across from each other, talking honestly, seeing each other clearly. Sometimes, love does not announce itself with dramatic music or a sudden moment of certainty. Sometimes it arrives quietly, like a room slowly getting warm, like a language you did not know you were learning until the day you realized you could speak it. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is simply tell the truth about what you feel, about who you are, about what you need. That was the thing Claire learned that year. Not because of Ryan. Not because of Marcus. Because of herself. That is where every real story begins.